Here.
Alderperson Bergerath.
Here.
Alderperson Kings. Alderperson Mass.
Here.
Alderperson Van Camden.
Here.
Alderperson Fulton.
Here. Very good. At this time we say the Pledge of Allegiance and the flag is at the front of the room. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. No appointments at this time, and we don't have any recognition of volunteers, correct?
We have one coming. We have one who could make it tonight, but only one out of the group, and now I've asked for the next time, and we have two committed for the next time. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll get them here.
All right, and then we go to communications from visitors. And this is any communications that's not on the agenda, and I do have, I'm sorry.
Brian Koska, sorry.
No, that's all right.
That's okay.
I was like, I think it's Brian.
That's all right. I got sloppy handwriting.
If you would like to stand and present, you may.
So I just have a couple things. I live on the corner of 7th and 9th Street.
Okay.
Terrible speed zone there.
Okay.
I get that 33 or 34 is not fast per se, considering the speed limit's 30. But in a residential area, I almost think that's too high. But to combat that a little bit, I would love to have a stop sign or an actual four-way stop put in our corner, which our police chief has asked for, along with one at the next corner. That way my kids have the safe way to get to school. That corner is very hectic. Not to mention if you're coming east on 9th Street, you can't see anybody coming up the hill. And I've counted numerous of times where I back out of my driveway and there is nobody coming over the hill, to yet find somebody waiting for me backing out of my driveway, or my wife. Along with the fact that it's just common courteous. I even have drivers, I'm halfway out of the driveway, they just go right around. Like, I'm already out of my driveway, wait, please, I'd greatly appreciate it. That's about all I got for you. I want a safe way for my kids to get to school, and I know that there's no sidewalk on the next street, but a stop sign would go a long way for both of those corners.
Well, we have on our agenda those very street issues,
Yep.
and adding stop signs for four-way on 10th Street and 7th Avenue. And then we have added 7th Avenue and 9th Street, correct? And
Yep.
those are the two you're talking about.
Yes, that's the two I'm talking about. And that also comes from Lynn and Shell Balkans, which live on the corner, kitty from us. And then Zach Holfinger couldn't make it here tonight. He's stuck over in Clinton.
Well, we've got them there because Chief Nepling thinks they're danger points too. So.
We appreciate it. So.
Okay, very good. We agree. Jeff and I both agree in the first ward that's always
necessary.
Yeah, it's very necessary.
Yeah.
So it's under discussion this evening, but it will be put on the agenda as an action item October 9th.
Okay. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Brian, at one time it was even worse because we put that no parking on one side of the street at one time. It used to be the people who parked there as well.
Yes.
Just to complicate the matter. So that I don't know if that was when you were here or before you came. We put in no parking.
Yeah, it's no parking all along there, which almost
complicated it even more.
Well, it almost makes it worse per se, because now you don't have any obstructions to slow you down.
Oh, okay.
For example, I'm getting a roof done. There's no parking there, but the guy who's been out of my yard to get all the roofing supplies out. Cars have slowed down today because there's stuff there to slow down for. I got 4 little ones, and we're fostering another one. It only takes a half a second for one of those little kids to jump down the street, and then if you're doing 35 over top of the hill, you're there in a split second. So, terrible intersection. I do like the neighborhood.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Brian. Thanks.
Now we go on to presentations. There are none, but next month I will have the Illinois Route 30 group for Iowa and Illinois have come to speak. And also the North River Drive group from Clinton is also going to be here. They are the group that I went to out in Washington, D.C., and they would like us to write a letter of support to them. So they will be here as a presentation next month. Then we go on to number 8. It's a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in your packet. May I have that motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions?
I think a correction maybe. Go ahead. Maybe you're gonna come.
On the Dolan stuff, it's actually Geronimo Energy, not Jerome.
I was gonna correct that, I don't think anybody remembers Geronimo, so that's a good one.
And then on the Historical Society, it wasn't a motion to approve the ordinance, it was a motion to extend the existing contract for another 5 years.
Very good.
I just got one for you. Council agreed to put in the next agenda for a vote that's referring to
That
the
isn't
liquor
happening.
license. Yeah, it was for discussion.
For what license?
A1 liquor license to Amby Wholesale.
Just cross out on to vote, because it went to discussion.
And if I recall, Keith's word was discussion specifically. what
Yeah,
was
that's
that?
why it's not on there to vote.
Right, it wasn't on the
Right. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve with corrections?
So moved.
second.
Very good. And roll call, please.
Alderperson Baker?
Yes.
Alderperson King? Alderperson Mass?
Yes.
Alderperson Van Campen?
Yes.
Alderperson Boonstra?
Yes.
Alderperson Wilkin?
Yes.
Alderperson Brondike?
Yes.
Alderperson Bergrat?
Yes.
Very good. Now we move on to number 9, and this is the business. This got a little convoluted just today. No, they're all together. Oh, you're good. Thank you. Got to keep me on my toes. Where the motion should read electric bids only, and that piece of paper is in front of you. For the pumping only, 60-month contract with Dynasty. As I said, and as we state in here, it's in the future, council gives permission for city administrator to decide because of the changing rate from day to day. Tammy got a phone call, it's cheaper with Dynasty as of today, so if we say payment tonight, then she can get that in tomorrow. So, and it's only a little tiny bit. Constellation was 0.057 and Dynergy is 0.056 as of today. So that is,
Constellation was the one that we just had, right?
Yes.
So this will be us.
yes, this will be new.
But now, is this going to be a 5-year contract?
This is going to be whatever they renew it as they have done in the past, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's say 61.
Yeah, so starting in year 2, Constellation is cheaper than Dynegy, and they'll actually do a 60-month contract, whereas Dynegy will only go up to 48 months.
For some reason it wasn't.
I think their rate today is slightly cheaper, but their built-in increase is a little larger.
Yeah.
I think overall, I think that Constellation, according to this,
Because it's probably the 48. Do you see that? It's probably the 48. It's instead of 60, it's probably 48. So do you see where it's just a little bit cheaper than Constellation? It's 40,911.
Yeah,
And then if you look straight down, it's 40,898. That's what they're going by.
Okay.
So, and then we have a shorter time, then we can redo it. But really, we need to give this over to the city administrator to make the best choice when they can, because this rate changes so frequently. Tammy says we just kind of wait for the best one and go, so. Are there any other questions? This is just pumping. It will have another one for the street lights coming up, and once again, if we just can say, let the city administrator take it at its best rate. We're only talking, what is that? $2, $13, at the very end. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something. So, and it's something for them to keep track of, to me.
So is this a one-time authorization, or she just takes this going forward and we don't see it anymore?
We won't see this one for 4 years.
Okay. But in the next time it comes up for renewal, it
Yep.
comes back to the council?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it'll come back to the council only what they picked.
Okay, because she's been given the authorization
Right.
to make the call. Okay,
Yes,
that's what I-
but it will come back to the council as information.
Gotcha.
So are we voting on the approval of going with this Dynegy, or are we voting to give?
Nope, Dynasty, yeah.
Are we voting to give the permission over to them? I'm confused. Is
Both.
it both things
Both.
in this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Both. I need the 60-month, and that should say 48. That's where that's wrong too. 48 months. Tori, can you make sure that that gets corrected? So the motion to approve electric bids for pumping only, 48-month contract with Dynasty. And in the future, the council gives permission for the city administrator to decide because of the changing rates from day to day. You got that? Okay.
But it's got street lighting and pumping in the motion.
I know, and I crossed off the street
Did you?
light,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's fine. Pumping.
And I crossed off the 60-month, that's why it's Tory, and then that's 48, and contract is with Dynasty. And we have to do it tonight. I mean, it's just kind of what we have to do.
We should have probably just had a motion to give
Yes.
permission.
We tried that last, but it wasn't on the motion, so now it is. So there we go, we're done.
It's Dynergy though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
But I'm showing
Dynergy.
Dynergy over the 4 years, Dynergy's $782.02 cheaper over 48 months.
well, there you go. Well, I said I was just doing it in the,
Constellation is $782.02 cheaper than Dynergy over 48 months.
Because it drops in that second
Because of
year.
lower.
Because you're the
That was
first,
what you were making.
because of the
Yes.
first,
well, the first year, Constellation's $459.60 cheaper.
okay,
24 months, they're $27.44 cheaper. At 36 months, they're $281.26 cheaper. And 48 months, they're $13.72 higher. So they're only high on 1 month.
The 12 months are higher as well, Terry. Look at that again, if you would, please.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
But it's, yeah,
not much. Not much.
460.
Yeah,
So,
460.
we can say no, and it won't happen.
I just think the better.
Let's just,
I think the vote should be that we hand it over to them.
Yes.
Yep.
And they can figure it out tomorrow.
perfect.
Just make the motion to
Yes.
give permission to city administrator to make going forward after,
Because,
as of today.
Yeah.
Traditionally,
And I
we
will
like to
explain
lock
that to
in.
Tammy.
They do it.
Yes,
as long as
Right,
we
that's-
can,
yep.
because
And they
the
had
rates
to
we
lock
know are
in.
gonna go up. So
yes.
That's what it's
Yeah.
60 months.
And so, and Jeff, you're saying 60 month you think would be better
But
than 48?
I think so.
Okay,
So we don't have to visit it.
okay.
Well,
There we go. Okay, so let the motion read. In the future, council gives permission for the city administrator to decide because of the changing rate from day to day on the pumping and the electric bids and the street lighting. Let's just do that.
Sounds good.
Okay, now I need a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second that motion.
Whew.
What's the second?
Whew. Did you get that one, Tori? Okay. And roll call.
Alderperson Vergraff,
Yes.
Alderperson Banker,
Yes.
Alderperson Brondike,
Yes.
Alderperson Wilkin,
Yes.
Alderperson Van Camden,
Yes.
Alderperson Mass,
Yes.
Alderperson Boonstra,
Yes.
Alderperson King.
Very good. It's in the hands of the city administrator from now on, and usually Tammy does that too. So. Now we go on to the committee of the whole discussion, and Dan Dolan closing took place on Friday. Good job, Rebecca. With construction to begin immediately, the total sale, and I put that in an email for everyone. I don't know if you received that email, was $812,473. The loan payoff was $285,0257, and the deposited extra funds will go into line item 19. It's under fixed assets, under the economic development, and that is for $527,678.43. That might be just a little different, and it was because of the interest again. Okay? There's nothing much to discuss except that it's done. And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, yes.
Okay, now we go on to discuss the ordinance on liquor licenses. I sent everybody an email with mine, so this is your guys' decision. Barb has printed off what the IML says, and she took it right out of the IML book, so that was there for your convenience.
I took it out of the IML book, and then I highlighted points that I thought were more pertinent than others, so that you didn't have to read all those pages. So if we could just quickly take a look at what the associations, this is an association that we belong to, and it goes on to detail, and I think we'll probably, as long as we Renee here, we'll want to talk about those details. So this is just more of an overview about what our association says, starting on that, what is in our packet, page 16. Liquor poses a significant threat to the safety, health, and the general welfare of any community. So under Illinois law, municipalities are granted the authority to enact ordinances and resolutions to regulate it. And somewhere else in this, on these pages, it says, the state of Illinois gives municipalities more governance over this than anything else we have. We never can regulate anything like we can regulate liquor in our community. So the act permits local ones.
I'm going to interrupt you just a little bit. Everybody's had an opportunity to read this, and so I don't want you to read all the pages. I think you need an open discussion about what is the solution.
Well, I think in reading all of this, one part that wasn't highlighted that I think we need to be more just cognizant of is that we need to have a legitimate reason for denying a liquor license. And it may not be arbitrary or based on some substantive whatever claims. So what I'm getting at is I feel like we are opening ourselves up to lawsuits in the future if we continue to deny and discriminate against certain people coming to us for liquor licenses. Because I feel like right now we have the limit. So everybody has to come to us and ask permission. And why do, councils get to say, oh, we like you, we think you have a good idea, we're going to give you one, and maybe the next person comes in and we say, well, we don't like your business plan, so I'm not going to give you one. And I just feel like the liquor license shouldn't even make it to council. That's my opinion.
And it's a good point, but I thought what we were going to discuss tonight was just the liquor licensing and try to learn better about what it is. And
we know what the liquor license is.
No, I think we were going to have a discussion about, is this what we want? Do we want to have limits on A1, B? Do we want any person that wants to start a business in our town to have to come and beg us so that they can proceed with their business plans? I do not think that we should do that.
I don't think it's discriminating against anybody. I think it's do we want a liquor store on every corner in this town?
I think geography plays a part. It's not all discriminatory.
Right.
The one that's been brought up is going to be in our neighborhood, in our district, and that'll be the second one in that area. And if that was in your backyard, I think you might feel a little differently about that. So there's thoughts along those lines too, that geography matters.
Well, we asked Renee to come also to just help us understand. We haven't talked about liquor licenses here at the council for a while, so I'm interested in just getting some updates and hearing from her. And how many do we have? Could you, Renee, since we asked you to come?
Yep.
Thank you.
So right now our ordinance, I've given you all a copy there at your desk. for the 14 liquor licenses. That was our last ordinance we passed for the 14. Now, if you look at your, who has them and what their definitions are, you will see the Class A, if you look at your definitions there. 5 were allowed, we have 4 issued. I have an application in right now for that 5th license. I believe that that does not have to come for council approval because it's already open. I believe I'm right there. We do have an application in for that. I am just waiting on payment. Okay, and that would be the old paddle wheel. That would be the old paddle wheel there. So we're waiting on that. Then you go down to A1, and I think that's what we're somewhat discussing would be the A1 license. Is there any questions as far as you have about that A1 that we're discussing, or?
But there's another one being asked, right?
Yes.
That's the next one.
We have two different businesses that are asking for the A1, which would be the Grewalls and also a Demon's Nilla for the old Fulton Oil building.
And we have a promise to the brewery.
Yes. And
So currently we only allow 1 and it's taken.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 3 people that.
Right.
Yes, that is correct. Also, if you go down to, okay, so just to go over it a little bit better for you. Okay, so the Class A's, we have Johnny's, we have Dinio's, we have Triple Play, and we have Manny's. And then that 5th one that hopefully will go through will be for Paddle Wheel. I believe it's going to be called Cindy's Pub. If that all goes through, it'll be called Cindy's Pub. Then the A1, of course, is Eagle River Liquor. And then the B would be your Shell station. B1 would be Julie's. Your C, which is 60% of the food sale, it has to have 60% food sales, would be Crumpets and Brunch House. And that's your licenses that we have right now.
Also B for Dandelion Wishes. Did you? I don't think you said that.
Oh, it's not. I did not say that, and that is correct because I'm looking at.
You gave us.
I gave it to you.
You gave it to us.
Here it is. Okay. The B is Dandelion Wishes.
And they just sell wine in the bottle.
Yep. Off premise only.
Yep.
Also, so do you have any questions as far as that part of it? Is there anything
Maybe you want to explain?
Sure.
What I talked to you. Okay, like Eagle River, Shell, and Julie's, because the law states that you have to be a resident of Illinois, but then you explained.
Yes,
what the
but then
difference
it also,
is now.
it also says that if you're in corporation or LLC, you do not have to. And which is, I believe, almost all of ours fall under either an LLC or a corporation. Yep.
But the manager has to live,
Yes.
live in the community.
Yep. And we've come back and forth on as far as fingerprinting the business owner and manager, and I did call state on that, and they said that is up to the municipality. So we've never really gotten strict about that.
About the manager part.
Yeah, or as far as fingerprinting.
So we currently don't do that.
We do fingerprint, but as far as some of the owners, they just give it to the manager to get fingerprinted because they're running it. So, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at with that part of it. I'm trying to think if there would be anything else that.
We used to have another B. Didn't we have a B, B1, B2?
Well, if you look in the full ordinance, there was a B2. I've never issued a B2 as long as I've been here, and it's 0. We have 0 B2 licenses.
But that dropped for some reason.
Yeah, and that was before me. I've never dealt with a B2 license. So,
What is it?
if you look in the,
Let's see it listed.
got it here somewhere in the big ordinance. Because I was showing it to Sue. Let's see. It is B2. would be retail sale of beer and wine for consumption on or off the premise.
Say it again.
Retail sale of beer and wine for consumption on or off premise. And I've never,
I was just gonna say, give me an example. What would that be an example?
I would say
Well, I-
winery.
Oh, okay.
That might be what Danielle wishes for in case she wants to
Yeah, but-
serve.
yeah.
it looks like there's a, $400 yearly fee for that, but I've never issued one, so we never, it's always in zero as far as I've done it, so.
Well, I had it down, like I said, that the marina had it.
Yeah, and I said that, but they never got a license from me if the marina had it, so. Well, have we sold liquor ever at the marina?
I think they used to have beer at the.
Yeah, yeah,
the
they did.
convenience store.
Okay, and so before the city owned it, it was, who owned that before?
Caesar.
Yeah, they may have, but
Several
if they
different
did, they never had a license, a liquor license at that time, so.
Okay.
Well, I would like to get your guys' thoughts on not having limitations and not having people to have to come to us ever. Just go through the proper channels of getting their background check, getting the approval from the liquor commissioner, and moving forward. And I say that because I've seen it happen several times in years past, where people come in here and they're getting picked apart by the council asking about their business plan, and I just would hate for anyone to not be able to move forward because our city is making it really hard on them. And I think we've developed that reputation that it's hard to start a business here, because to get a liquor license, you have to come in here and pretty much,
You have to know too, if someone is planning, and I put that in the email, that's the most. Somebody came to me who was interested in Chuck's place, and I said, well, but can I have a liquor license? And I go, oh, that will have to go in front. And so they said, well, I can't invest in property if I don't have a liquor license, so I have to come to the council before I can even put in an offer. It just stops the process of having additional people come for businesses immediately.
But he does have a license too.
No, but
We're not
that is
talking
not
about
transferable.
yeah.
I'm saying if he sold his business, that's what, I had somebody.
It's harder for us to move our real estate for people that want to have a business that might be.
And I don't disagree
Alcohol
with that,
involved.
Jackie, but I think there's a bigger concern here as far as the community and how many licenses we have. I just think we have a time here to discuss this, and I think we owe it to the people who already have licenses that they at least share their input on us. I think we need to ask the community, somehow get the word out about the community that we're talking about opening this up. I think it's a bigger issue than just that. I think you make a good point. I think there's a bigger issue here. And
Well, I
would
don't
really
know
like to
that
see-
other businesses should be, because Jackie and I used to, Jackie
Well,
owns a business.
I'll tell you right now.
I don't think there should be protection
because that's
from.
free enterprise. People
Yes.
should be able to move forward without.
And just because somebody's been sitting there for 50 years doesn't mean that that's okay. That I'm sorry, you can't come in with your new idea.
Well,
And,
Well, let's talk about that. I'm just real interested in that whole thing about, let's just give an example of if somebody wants to open another, just the packaged liquor store, for example, and we have every tavern can sell packaged liquor, Triple Play can, Eagle River can, Shell can. So another one wants to open that, just that packaged liquor store. Are more people going to come to Fulton just because we have an additional liquor store, or are they going? Is it just going to dilute because we kind of glutted the market? So
I
how?
think it's competition.
It is, and they're going to do more than just
somebody's
sell
already
packaged
selling
alcohol.
those.
They want to do food as well, so that is another thing that we could offer to community members. But someone who started a business in this community 3 years ago, if I had to come to this city council to get approval to sell clothing, I would have probably went across the river. I know, but it's the same. It's the example of a business owner eager to start something in our community and immediately having a brick wall in front of them. Like, well, first I have to obtain this liquor license.
And liquor is a lot different than a clothes business.
Yes, I mean, let's be
There's
realistic here.
social
But
issues
are you
with liquor as
understanding
well.
my point
Yes.
of how difficult we're making it for someone to come to our community and start a business? And not just a liquor store, but what if we wanted to have the brewery? Everybody really wants that, right? And we'll say, oh, but we like your business, so we'll give you one. We don't like your business, we aren't giving you one. That's the
They
game
follow
we're
the
playing
business
here,
plan, though,
and I
too.
think it's a
Show it.
dangerous one. That's my opinion.
And it's not our job to approve business plans.
No, it's not, but it's an idea. No, it's not, but it's a good idea. If they're gonna be proud of the business, why
Yeah,
can't they
but
tell us what they're gonna do?
that-
Offer us.
They shouldn't have to ask our permission to start a business.
Because
No.
they're using their money, their time, their energy. I can't tell Paul what to do with this painting.
But this
it's
is
a
a different
business.
business. I don't think you can compare it to anything else, and I was
I
trying
think
to
you
make
can.
that point.
I think
Well,
you can.
you're entitled to that, Wendy.
Yep.
I just differ with you. I think the liquor and the reason why the state of Illinois gives us those regulatory powers is because liquor is different. It is different.
In your
It
eyes.
impacts the community, and it says that. It inherently
But, you know-
impacts the community the more you have. And I just think we owe it to the other businesses. I think we owe it to the public to say, this is what we're thinking about doing and getting their input.
I don't have any problem with that. That's the
Okay.
purpose of this discussion,
Right.
I think, because this will be published and people will get to hear like that we're
Thinking of
discussing
doing this,
this.
yes.
But I just think it's time. A lot has changed since these acts were put in place and the limits, and our community is growing a lot. And as our downtown grows and there becomes other little pop-up things, I don't want other future business owners to just be like, we can't because the city of Fulton won't let us, you know?
But I think there
This
might be a
ordinance is
time
only a
and
year
place for
old.
that.
Well, no, the
That's it.
number of liquor
No,
licenses.
that's
we just
the
did
ordinance.
that a year ago.
We just did this a year ago.
I thought that we have always had
No,
limits.
We
Yes.
change it at every time
Right.
we
There's
take
always
away
been
or we
limits.
add.
Yep, yep.
We
Yes, of
change
Of course,
it
I mean,
every
that's,
time.
we're told to.
You don't have to have limits. It can
No.
be unlimited.
Yes.
It
I
can't be
think the
unlimited.
question is, are we willing to relinquish that power?
I'd like to
Mhm.
hear from Chief Police of what are your thoughts on, are we gonna see more crime with more retail alcohol sales?
I can attest to the fact that we've had some instances at the liquor store. Those crimes have basically been check issues. One of the biggest issues we've had is accidents in the parking lot, which is people hitting the building. I think it's the same with the dispensary. The dispensary has caused us absolutely no issues outside of a hostile situation with a gun one time where it was quickly diffused, and we had more cars driving to the dispensary than we've had any other issues there. One thing the dispensary does is the dispensary takes cash. I know there's a business owner present who will not deny, and I will guarantee you he will shake his head, accepting checks has probably been one of the biggest crimes that we deal with when you deal with these retail businesses, is you have people that are writing stolen checks, bad checks, and that's one of the biggest things we've probably dealt with, whether it was owned by him or it was owned by the previous individual. Other than that, I can wholeheartedly say in my time here, the liquor stores have not caused us problems.
And we're down a few liquor stores right now.
There's,
No, I think this is the most we've ever had.
We have one
We
right now.
have 9 active licenses right now.
we have less active licenses in town right now than
Than we've
at
ever
the peak
had.
when about 3 years ago. Even with the old Fulton Oil, bad checks were a problem, and they got broke into. I mean, and those are things that are going to happen with those types of establishment. Other than that, increase in crime based on those two things, I'm not seeing that. And historically, putting forward, our DUI arrests are down. They've been down for the last 7 years? Is that just because we're busy and we're doing other things? Yes, that's always a possibility. But Officer Hermes, in your experience, anything that you would like to add?
Retail alcohol sales are not going to be your problem at all. Actually, it's going to generate more revenue for the city. The more businesses, there's just a positive. I came from larger towns with lots of bars and lots of liquor stores. Never had any problems, like I said, other than random burglaries. But that's usually kids doing vandalism and trying to get in there. For the most part, I've never seen it increase just because of alcohol.
My and Chad's time together in Rock Falls, I will wholeheartedly tell you the liquor stores, the gambling places, they didn't cause us our problems in Rock Falls, and that was a town of 9,000 people in a geographic 30,000 mess. It was your 4 bars in your heavy drinking district downtown that caused us all of our problems. And when I say cause problems of a magnitude none of us ever want to go through, but that was every single weekend, and we don't have that. And that is one thing that I'm proud of, is that our downtown businesses and our establishments do a very good job of taking care of their own. We do. We get called every once in a while. I won't say we don't get to a bar for some spat of some kind or things going wrong. It happens. But our time in our bars down here, nothing compared to the trips that I think we have more serious problems that we respond to on the main avenue to assist Clinton throughout the year than we have with our own bars.
And I agree with the chief. Historically, we've just had, I've always attributed part of that is that they're owners that have lived in Fulton, they're part of the community they serve, they're involved in the community, and I think they're just conscientious about wanting to make sure that the business is run in the best interest for all of us. That's very true.
If you're asking my opinion, if I can give it, my opinion is you can issue 6 more liquor licenses in town. I don't think it's drastically going to change anything.
Except we'll get more revenue because we'll have more businesses.
We do have a good control over it, and that's why I'm saying, and if we have a problem place, that's why we have the authority then as the police department and the mayor as the liquor commissioner. If we have an establishment that is doing things that are drastically wrong, and we're having ongoing issues, and we're selling to minors, and we're having these problems, that's when we get to step in, we start issuing fines, and we start taking licenses.
Have we ever pulled a license from somebody? Actively
Just
selling?
lately, someone applied and then didn't get open, and so that one got.
No. I mean, they were in business selling liquor, and they had a license pulled from them for issues.
Well, not in the recent past, but historically that's happened many times. I mean, the Fulton Journal is full of licenses. I can tell you all kinds of
In the city of Fulton.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm going to flip back to Renee here
A different
because
time, though, I think.
Renee, you would know if the liquor
liquor
licenses
license.
were revoked because of abuse.
violation.
No, not since I've been here.
No, not since she's been here.
Well, how long have you
20
been?
years.
20 years. Okay.
Just the one that you took away because.
The only times that we have taken away anything is
For lack of.
they just couldn't get equipment, and they were very open with Wendy and myself about it. So there was no issue at all. It was just about getting equipment. So they didn't get open on time. We have a 60-day opening after you get your license.
And we, I do remember during the COVID, you took the license that wasn't being used at one of the restaurants because he didn't reopen.
Yes, he did
But,
reopen after.
but it wasn't because.
There was no abuse
No.
yet. Since I've been here, we haven't had any.
Well,
I
we've
will
been down
admit, there's
this.
a lot of drinkers in town.
Yeah, we've been down
Because
this
I
road
picked up all the
different
cans
times.
and the beer bottles and beer cans all up down 4th Street.
Yeah.
Got hit out.
So, and every time we change this, it costs the city money. We've
Every
done
time.
that many times.
Yes.
Why?
We add and subtract,
No,
and
but
when
what
we
is it?
add and subtract, that creates a new ordinance, like Jeff said.
We have to rewrite it.
Yes.
So, I get all sides. We've done this numerous times since I've been here. So the fine line, it's just really hard to try to tell people what they can and cannot do in business. I understand liquor is all we're talking about here, and I get that. So I'm sure LeClaire along that road has many liquor licenses.
Kind of limited, I would assume, but.
Yeah, I get that. So our downtown, whether you want 2 there or 5 there, if that would ever come to be, is that something that we're gonna say no to and leave vacant buildings sit there? Or are we trying to grow things, to make other things come here also? I will say, if we have no more liquor stores, we're gonna go to Clinton and get it. People aren't gonna just, what, we don't have it here, so we're not gonna do that tonight. We're gonna go across, we're gonna go get it. But I understand everyone else's issue, I understand your issue, but be all said and done for me, I think you have to let those licenses, because the other thing is too, they just need to do the job.
They're monitoring them.
And once that is taken care of and in stone, then that's the backbone of what we're doing here. So anything that goes wrong, and we will, if we can get everyone, I will definitely pull someone's license for anything of that activity. And it has to be clear to everybody. But I don't think by not allowing any more that we are going to decrease the alcohol consumption by any means. I don't know, is that a concern of yours, Barb?
Well, mine is just the more availability, you're going to have more people drinking. I live on 10. I pick up beer cans every single week out of my yard.
Yeah.
Both sides. So people are drinking down here, and they're drinking, buying liquor on both ends of 10th Avenue, and they are getting in their car.
Right.
Are those all people driving? I don't know that. It could be somebody in the back seat. But I'm assuming statistically some of those people are driving and drinking as well. Would you agree with me, officer?
I would.
That I can make that assumption. So on 10th Avenue, when I'm pulling out on 8th Street, I'm going to be incurring people who are drinking and driving on my avenue, and it's not just my avenue, I'm just most familiar with it. So that's a concern with mine, and I don't think anybody can really say in this room tonight that you add more license, that the drinking is going to go down. The purpose in adding more is so that we have more people drinking in Fulton. So statistically, so that's why I'm saying I think this is a community-wide concern that people in Fulton should say, yes, we want to have everybody who wants to have a liquor license. I think we owe it to them to let that discussion go one more time, and if people come in here and say, yes, we want more, I'm right with it. But I think it's a community decision, or at least having some kind of input. And if they come in, I'm the first one who say, if that's how the community overwhelmingly feels, then that's what we do.
I have a question. Why is it that you want the community's input in things that this council has the right to make the
Because
decision?
they elect the 8 of us. And
But we don't have the community in here for all of our decisions.
No, we do not, but this one carries a different weight. I guess that's why.
I disagree.
Well, you can, Wendy. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing. I know you made your position very clear, and that's helpful to have it. I just don't agree with that. And I think it belongs, the community elects aldermen because they trust our judgment. That's the bottom line why people elect.
That's exactly right.
But just from past, don't you think people who are always against something are the ones that come here?
Well, I don't know that because we don't have people come anymore.
I know that, but in the previous,
you and I talked about that.
yes.
We're not doing the people's business here.
Let's throw a hypothetical up here. Somebody wants to come to your building, down here, Drive's building, and they want to put in a venue and have a little restaurant, and they want an A license, and we don't have any. How are you going to vote?
If we don't have it, we don't have it.
Well, what would
But see,
be your
that hinders
stance
a
on it?
business from coming to a place that would be so good for our community.
That would be wonderful.
Just a second. There's just a few people, and you've said the community members are important, so let's.
I apologize. Yes, Your Honor. Just a question.
What's your first name?
Trevor, I'm sorry.
Yep, thank
For the
you.
meeting. Yeah. Is there how do we come about the number that's in the current ordinance? Is it arbitrary?
It's pulled out of a hat.
Okay, so
Whenever one was dismissed, then we pull that one away.
So we kept the same number?
No.
No?
We haven't kept the same number, and then if they ask, then we add. Just like there's 3 A1s right now that are up, this council could decide to add 3 A1s.
Sure.
It's a decision that we make every single time somebody wants a license.
Well,
Because we keep it at usually 0.
My question would then be, if that's the case, why do we do that? And secondly, you've heard from your police chief he's opined that there's not going to be much of a problem. There already isn't much of a problem. So why don't you allow the liquor licenses to those who want them until there is a problem?
Exactly.
I mean, that would be the way you would address it, I would think. That's just looking at it from the outside.
I appreciate that.
Thank
Do you
you very
live
much.
here in Fulton?
I do not.
Okay.
The
Yes,
only other
Brian?
thing- The only other thing I would add to that is you're arbitrarily setting a number. There should be criteria that meets your license standard.
Oh, there is.
There
We
is.
have to,
There is.
we have to go through the state of
Okay, so-
Illinois. Those people have to go through that state. Then those people have to be fingerprinted by our police chief, and there cannot be anything, and there is criteria that's
So
followed.
at that point,
And then it comes to the liquor commissioner.
at that point, you're essentially discriminating on who gets it and who doesn't. There's not you're arbitrarily setting who can get it and who can't. Your standards were met. Even if you meet them,
Then we still
you
have the
still
power
say
to
no.
say,
Right.
yes
You
or
can
no.
still vote to say no, essentially.
Yep.
You
And
said
that's
it-
how it's been done forever.
And that just seems really odd to me. And I get we don't want more liquor stores and we don't want more bars and all that, but competition is what you want. Some places in town are very nice, and there's a couple other places that aren't so nice. I think
Like
the
all businesses.
Exactly, and the market should decide who wins and loses.
That's
Not the committee.
Right.
That's just my feeling. And at the end of it, again, you're discriminating after they already met the criteria.
Right.
You're picking and choosing.
That is
And so,
correct.
You might be discriminating until you have a drug addict or an alcoholic child in the family.
I have a drug addict brother. I absolutely
Yeah,
get it.
and you know what it is.
I know exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Yes,
I
I
know.
know. You know.
Yeah.
But
I
like
do
your
too.
personal life
but-
influence
exactly.
city
I'm
decisions.
fostering.
I'm
I'm
not saying
fostering a child right now from a drug addict brother.
I can see what can
I
happen.
get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
But personally, that's not going to affect my decision.
Right.
If they meet the criteria, again, the community is only going to support so many businesses.
Right.
Correct. The paddle wheel. How often does the paddle wheel close?
Yeah.
How many businesses have we had in there,
But
right?
you know what? We've given them a license
No,
every
that's
time they ask.
no,
Well,
that's fine.
exactly
That's
right.
fine, and I
But
totally
they
understand
made
that.
it or
But
they didn't.
but every time they have to come here.
And that's what
to get that
it's
decision
such a
made.
way I feel like how many hours has this council sat and
Really?
gone over?
We haven't.
Yes, you have, because you have to keep redoing the ordinance, and then we pay a lawyer to redo it, and there's discussions. Yes, historically, there is a lot of time that is sucked out of this council that it could just be
We
completely.
really haven't done it that many times.
Yes, you
We
have.
do it every time. Every time. We
Yeah.
take one away, we add one to.
In the
Barb,
last 10
that's
years.
exactly
In
what
the
we
last
do.
10 years, no, we did that when we wanted to limit the amount of gaming license that could come in. Paul, do you agree with me on that? It was the gaming issue. But it wasn't the liquor license per se, it's the gaming.
Renee, I'm gonna ask you.
I was just gonna ask to talk just for a second. Now, the second A1 was for the old Fulton Oil, which,
We took away.
we wanna see that open back up, right? They are possibly going under the name Steamer Stop, in support of the school. But if you're going to agree to that, guess what? you're gonna have to agree to that first day one with free walls, or there might be some issues, because they came and asked first, and there's no reason.
I have no issue with either.
No, I know. I'm just
That's
saying
not
if you
it.
give
It's
one,
just
you,
that how many does this
Oh, sure.
community
right.
feel is?
But that's not I don't believe that that's the council's purpose.
Like
Well,
he said,
you're
how
not
many
doing that.
how many businesses can a community support? So it's the business owner's risk that they're taking by opening a third, fourth, or fifth convenience store, and they will either make it or they won't. They'll run a great business, and the community will support
You
them.
cannot control
or
a
they
free
won't.
market. You
No.
cannot.
Thank you.
That's exactly
and
right. And I'm gonna have Rebecca as our attorney so she can explain a little bit too.
The state law gives municipalities absolute authority to determine the number of licenses that you're going to have, what your classes are going to be, and how many you're going to have per class. But once you have an open license, then you have an application made for that license, then it is the local liquor commission, which under state law and local ordinance is the mayor's office, unless she chooses to create a commissioner and appoint one, that will then make the determination if the applicant has met the requirements. And if that is arbitrarily denied, they can't appeal that to the Illinois State Liquor Control
I don't
Commission,
think
and
that's
they
been an
can be
issue here.
overruled.
Well, I think it has.
Oh, well, not for me. It's strictly.
Well, Vicki came a year ago and asked for an A1, and we flat out denied. So, we
But we
did it.
gave her, we offered her another license.
Well,
and
but
she
that
took it.
wasn't in her business plan.
Well,
She asked for an A1, so that was denied her.
So if we got rid of all these limits and made it unlimited, the process would be that someone would go to the chief, or
First to Renee,
First
they
to
have
Renee.
to fill out an application.
Yep, and fingerprints.
and then what's the next step? Then
Wait for the
Background
FBI
check?
Wait for the state police and FBI background fingerprint response to come back, and then we do another background check internally. And then once that's done, it goes to the mayor.
And what are the requirements, Nick, if, like, they cannot have a felony, they cannot, what? So are those,
So actually, to be charged with a felony is not an automatic disqualifier depending on the felony type, and the length of time since the last felony.
so the state of Illinois decides that?
No. The
Okay.
state of Illinois, well, the state of Illinois also follows the same factors. So,
Okay.
for instance, recently there was a former location in town where the owner had a felony, but it was a 20-year-old felony.
Okay.
Based on the type of felony, the length of time since that criminal charge and conviction, and the fact that there's not showing signs of ongoing criminal behavior, how do I discriminate against somebody in a mistake in their past when it's not murder or homicide?
Tell me what would be a flag for you to not pass it on to me?
Alcohol-related crimes, ongoing DUIs. So when you have somebody who comes in with those, so if somebody's got 4 DUIs and habitual domestic violence charges and things like that, those are signs of continuing and ongoing criminal behavior. That would be a denial. Same thing with multiple felony drug offenses. A felony drug offense for possession of marijuana 20 years ago is still on record as a felony drug offense right now. So am I going to automatically disqualify somebody for a felony drug offense from 20 years ago? You have to look at the person and where they are in their life now. I know plenty of people, there are people who preach to God in this community who have changed from what they were 30 or 40 years ago. And we cannot always judge a book by its cover, and that cover just might be the background that comes back on paper. You have to look at those multiple things, and those are the things that when Renee gets those things, I sit down with Renee, we go back and forth, I pull paperwork, she pulls paperwork, we do as much as we can find, and if there's nothing there to say, hey, this is a red flag and this is a termination, and we failed the background, it goes forward.
So then once it goes forward and then she approves it, and then it would be done, and it would never come to
Right.
us. And
Right.
that would be just something that we would never
Right.
be a part of
Right.
or have discussions on.
I guess I just caution that because once we pull that off, I mean, you can't go backwards.
You can't
Yes,
go
you-
backwards.
I would say differently. I think if we decided to say no numbers, and this was a free-for-all, and we were having all sorts of issues,
I think this council or the next council could come in and say, absolutely, we have tried this isn't working, we're going to go back to our numbers. But until you can prove that that is, you know,
Okay, on your report here, events that we did in August, were any of them alcohol related?
Is that on there? I can't even remember.
There's a runaway juvenile, battery, theft, fraud, domestic disturbance, damaged property.
So I think there was 20 last month, and you have one alcohol-related one for sure. Domestics could not be without having the case files in front of me and being
Well,
able
I
to
was
make that
just getting the
determination.
ballpark
So
idea here.
I can guarantee you, out of the 20 reportable events that we had last month, and out of 513 calls for service, one of them was alcohol related. I can guarantee you that.
So the other 512, nothing that you know of?
Not enough to draw the attention of something under our reportable events.
But I don't even understand why it comes to us, because what's the point? If they've already done the work and they've already approved it, then what are we truly doing? We're literally getting to say, yes, I like your business, you get to come, or no, I don't like your business, you don't get to come.
Well, I think it's like we set a standard and we say this is the number that we feel comfortable allowing. And if there's going to be more beyond that, then they come and they present themselves where they're going to go in town, that kind of thing. She mentioned if we give one a D. Massanella, but we don't Vicky, that there's discrimination. Well, not necessarily, because geography is not discrimination.
Well, it is because she asked first. Vicky asked first. So we have to we would have
if
to
there's
give.
one available, right?
Yes.
Well, she would
Well,
get
you
first
can't-
priority.
you can't give to a demon Sonella then, because there's that one.
Your restrictions under the ordinance as far as geography is concerned is within a certain number
But that's the
of,
problem.
from a church, a daycare, there are some other things listed, but that location will not even be affected. And there are also some in our subsequent ordinance that related to how much residential neighborhood is around it. But it has to be 50% or more residential on that block, in the block.
And I really think you need to trust the three of us.
That really, it's not a trust factor here, it's just how many.
I just think you need to trust the process, let's put it that way then. The process is put in place so that, you know, somebody that's the head, the mayor, is going to not put it in harm's way either. So if it does finally come, it's just that we have to have a process that works and is not done anything by feelings or anything. We just can't do that. You can't decide. That's why it should just be opened up, because a business is a business, and they make it or they don't. Zach?
So I understand the need to kind of talk about the sin of alcohol, the sin of marijuana in our community, and we talk about, like, the only time we have a big crowd in here is when people don't want something done. And the last big crowd we had in here was in regards to the recreational marijuana being sold in town, and multiple meetings we had on that, and this place was packed. That was probably the last time, at least that I've been here. Would you guys then be willing to say we can have as many recreational marijuana
I think
facilities?
the state of Illinois.
And I know that that's regulated, so like, but
It
assuming
is.
that there wasn't a limit from the state of Illinois,
But
are you
it
okay
is.
with saying, yeah, we can have 5 shops?
Well, but it is.
Open up.
And we do have an ordinance that there cannot be any, do we have that on Main Street?
Can't be anything on Main Street. Yeah.
What is it, Nick?
It's just what Eric said. There can't be any retail establishments anywhere in the downtown.
Business area.
Yeah. Downtown.
So we do have ordinances in place for that, so.
And my point is, we're going to, well, let's open it up to alcohol for any business that wants to apply for it. Why would we not open up our other sin, ordinances?
Because you can't.
Why can't we?
Because the state of Illinois has certain requirements. That's what we're saying. The state of Illinois has the requirements for alcohol too. And if you're meeting those requirements, then you should.
No, and what I'm saying is, if a person passed those requirements from the state of Illinois and it's made available, are we saying that we would just accept that in the community and you guys wouldn't
I think
want
we
to
have
vote
to
on it?
follow the state law, yes.